Okay, check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Is this thing on? Hello? Are we in there? 1, 2, 3, check. All right, here we go. Hey, what's up everybody? Just going to kind of take you through the inspiration for the photo I took, the panoramic photo of the Florence Cathedral in the city of Florence. And I'm going to take you into a little bit of Lightroom to show you exactly how I tweaked that photo, and then how I put it into Instagram and how we got that cool panoramic swipe photo thingamabobber. I'm not really sure what you call that. So anyway, let's do it. Here we go. So we were in the city of Florence. Now we didn't get to be there for very long. In fact, maybe 6, 8 hours. I don't know. Anyway, whatever it was way too short. But we rode around the city on some bikes, and any photograph that you see of Florence, or any collection of photographs, I should say, that you see of Florence, it's always going to include a shot of the main cathedral in Florence. That's got this beautiful orange dome, and the rest of the church with this big old bell tower. And normally you see that shot from an aerial view or from up above somewhere, or it's a drone shot or whatever. And that was the shot that I really wanted to get. Now, I didn't plan for it beforehand like I should have. I didn't do any research. I just was kind of hoping that I'd kind of figure it out and we'd get the shot somehow. But when we started to go to the cathedral and we looked around, and this is just kind of before that happened, we were walking around the city, and we got to the cathedral, and the first part of this thing is just absolutely amazing. You're looking up at this the facade that's there, the front of this, and it just kind of stretches up. And then if you start to walk around to the back side of it, that dome just reveals itself in the most cinematic, amazing way. And it was so cool. And I could not wait to get a photo of this. Now, there's 3 towers in the city itself that kind of offer some panoramic views of the entire city of Florence. And we actually got to go up into the highest one. I believe it's called the Tower of Arnolfo. I don't know. You people who know about Florence are probably just dying right now. Whatever it is, it was the largest tower, the tallest tower that was in Florence. And so we went all the way to the top of this thing. And again, offered some amazing views. Now, the only problem was at the very top of this tower, they wouldn't let you get close to the edge for, I guess, obvious reasons. Too many people being idiots taking selfies and whatnot. But you couldn't get very close to the edge, so I had to literally stretch out my camera to try and get photos that didn't include the battlements or the brickwork that was in the tower itself. So it's kind of difficult to get some good panoramic photos of the city from all the way on top. Now, what I noticed though, this is actually really cool. As you came down the tower, there were other places that you could walk around. They had openings, they had windows where you could take photos from or just look out onto the city. And that's actually where I think the best photos of Florence are. Because the ones that are way up top, you're looking down more on the city. The ones that are a little lower there, you're actually able to kind of get a view from some of the things that are a little bit straight on. And I think the perspective is just a little better. I don't have the words really to describe it. But you can also get your camera right on the window and outside of those bars and get better shots. You're not having to reach out over the side of this tall tower and just pray that you're not going to drop your camera. So that's actually where I found that I got the best panorama. I took a panorama from basically every level on that tower, but I think it was the next one down from the top that gave me the best perspective, at least that I think it was. So, and again, you could take this from any side, but the most iconic one is the one with the Duomo, with the Florence Cathedral in it. So that's the one that I shot. That's the one that I posted on Instagram. And that's the one that we're gonna talk about here just a little bit. So let's dive in. So this is the photo. Now this is how it is completely edited. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make a virtual copy, and we'll kind of start from scratch. kind of show you what I did with this photo here. Now, obviously the first thing we need to do is we need to merge the photo. So obviously this is 3 separate photos that were taken of the city of Florence that I then brought into Lightroom. And you just select all 3 photos down here, and I'm not going to do this because it's already done here, but you select all 3 photos, and then up in where it says photo, you're going to go photo merge, panorama. And Lightroom does just a fantastic job of stitching this photo together. This is the result. So it'll actually automatically crop it for you too, but since I reset all the settings, it lost the crop. So I'm going to go ahead and recrop this photo to get rid of the weird white edges there that result from the merging of the photo. So get that cropped. All right, there's our photo. Now, one of the things I would kind of like to do is I would love to get the cathedral right in the middle. I don't know if that's going to be exactly possible because when we bring it into Instagram, Instagram loves, does Instagram have feelings? I don't know. Instagram loves it when you have all your photos in the same size. In fact, actually, doesn't just love it, it requires it. So when you're doing a gallery of photos, you have to have them all in the square aspect ratio. So 1080 p by 1080p, pixels, 1080p. We're not doing frames per second here. 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels square. So that means that I want my image obviously to be 1080 pixels high, but then if we're doing 3 separate images, that's 1080 times 3, which is, math wizards out there, 3,240. I think that's what it is, 3,240. So it needs to be 3,240 pixels wide. Now, I don't know if that's going to be possible to do that and still get the cathedral right in the middle. So I'm not even going to worry about that at this point. What we're going to do is we're just going to tweak the settings on here, then we'll go back and do the exporting with the settings here. So this is what it was in camera. Now, to my eye, the city is just these wonderful hues of orange and yellow and brown. So that's what you can see with your eye there. And the camera was probably a little overexposed here than what I really wanted to be, but it's okay because when you shoot in RAW, you can go back and you can tweak all the details and all the settings without losing any of the information that the camera actually has picked up. So if you're not shooting in RAW, make sure that you do that. That way when you take it into your photo editing software, you can bring back all those details. You can tweak the temperature, you can tweak the exposure. If you're shooting just in JPEG, basically the camera just makes all those decisions for you. And there's not a lot that you can do bringing it back into the software. So here we are. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the exposure down just a little bit. Basically, I want to get a little bit more contrast between the city and the sky. So I'm taking the exposure down a little bit. We're going to bring the contrast up because I want to get more detail from the buildings. And then I'm going to really bump up the temperature. Now, I tend to shoot most of my photos at a fairly low temperature color. That seems to be a good starting spot for me. I typically like my photos to be a little bit darker, desaturated, a little more moody, and that seems to work in camera most of the time. Either way, it doesn't matter because that's something you can always tweak in Lightroom or whatever photo software that you're using. So I'm going to bump the temperature way up here because I want to bring out all of these orange and yellow hues of these buildings. Now, when you do that, obviously it's taking all the blues out of the sky, and we're getting a very kind of bland image now at this point. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go back to the sky, and this is just kind of a real quick edit. Normally I'd spend a little bit more time in here, but what we're going to do is I'm going to take one of our filters that we have here, and this is called a graduated filter, and it's basically going to blend whatever setting I choose nice and soft down into the image. So I'm going to use this basically to take the temperature of the sky back more towards a blue color. So I'm going to create the filter here. We'll drag it down to maybe about right there. And then now you'll notice what I can do is I can choose what I want to adjust. I'm going to adjust the temperature, and I'm going to start to take the temperature down. Look at that. I love it. It's recovering all of the blues that were in the sky, and it's creating this amazing contrast now between the city and the sky. I'm going to take the exposure down just a little bit too. Let's get that, we're going to make that just even a little bit darker. I think that's about good right there, so we'll click off of that. Now the city itself, I think it's probably a little warm at this point. There's a couple things that I can do. I could take the temperature back down, but what I'm going to try is I'm going to try and just take the saturation of some specific colors down at this point. So I'm going to bump the reds down in my saturation. I'm going to desaturate those, and I'm going to desaturate the oranges just a little bit as well. Now, I do like the yellows, so I'm going to bring those back up, and I'm going to take the overall temperature down just slightly. All right, now, I also like to bring down all my blacks and bring up my shadows. Again, that's more of an artistic thing. I think it gives it a little bit more of a moodier feel. But that's what we're gonna do here. And I'm gonna bring the overall saturation down just slightly as well. All right. So, that was a real quick edit. You know, you can spend as much time as you wanted to on this. The original photo, you can see, is right here. And I was able to bring back, obviously, the blues a lot more in this one. Spend a little bit more time on that particular edit. But kind of see as I'm going back and forth here, some of the differences between the two photos. But that's just kind of the basics of what you can do with a photo like this. And kind of some of the things how I edited it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this into Photoshop, and we're going to crop it into 3 separate photos so we can put them on Instagram, so you get that really cool swipe panoramic thing. Now I didn't even know this existed until a couple days ago when I was on Instagram and I saw one of my favorite designers, Aaron Draplin, had a panorama of this pop-up shop that he had was selling some things in. And when you swiped on it, it was literally like you were just moving the image around. But I could tell it was 3 separate images because it was in the gallery, in the gallery mode that Instagram does when you do multiple images. I just thought that was the coolest thing. I'd never seen that before. I'm sure people have been using this for forever, but it was just an awesome way to display a panorama inside of Instagram. So I thought, this will be perfect. I'll do my panorama in Florence for that. So we're gonna take this into Photoshop. Edit in Photoshop 2019. This is probably going to take a year and a day to open because this Mac is about 5 years old. Should be getting a new one here soon. That'll be a lot of fun. Just gonna wait here. It's going to open up at some point. Maybe I should go make some coffee. Ugh, still waiting. Come on, Photoshop. It's reading the camera raw format. We got the photo in Photoshop here, and what I want to do is I want to crop this into 3 separate images, all 1080 by 1080, so they fit perfectly in Instagram. And the first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to set our crop ratio to be 1:1. Now it automatically is going to pick the center of the image for me, which is kind of nice because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag some guides to the edge here so I know exactly where I need to crop all 3 of these images. And you can kind of see it start to automatically appear. So I'm going to hit crop, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move the image all the way over here. And that's going to be the first image for our Instagram gallery. Control, Alt, Command, S. That's how you save for web on a Mac. Save it as a JPEG. And the image, the width and the height is going to be exactly the same, so we want that to be 1080. It really doesn't need to be any more than that for Instagram. And the quality really doesn't need to be more than 60 either. So that's going to get us a nice 334K image, super easy to work with. I've already saved this, so I'm not gonna hit save now, but you would hit save and then move on. So anyway, we're gonna hit cancel. Okay, after you've saved it, you can then undo that crop, hit the crop again, and now our middle one is already selected for us. So we're good to go. Hit enter, it's gonna crop that, Control, Alt, Command, S to save. Once again, blah, blah, blah. Let's save it. Undo the crop, we're gonna crop again. Now we're gonna move it the other direction. We've already got that guide there, so we know exactly where it's gonna be. Crop that, save it. I've got my third image, and now I'm ready to put all three of those things inside of Instagram. And that's how you do it. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments below. Comment on the photo on Instagram. Any questions on how I did things in Photoshop, settings that I used in Lightroom. I don't know what the stuff is behind me. Whatever you want to ask, just it's kind of up to you. I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. All right, that's it. We'll talk to you later. See you next time, and we'll go through one more photo.